Crimes are baked in every show. Mysteries rise and truth unfolding. Ready, set, it's time to go. We say it's time to go. Whistling clues, battering news, mixing stories, solving the lies. In this kitchen, secrets are broken. With a spark in our eyes. In the broken baker's kitchen, the secrets crumble like sunrise. We'll sift through clues to find the news. With a spark in our eyes. The broken rise. Broken rise. Welcome to the broken baker. Get ready. Let's go.
I'm Jimmy. How y'all doing?
The most important people in this case that everybody seems to have forgotten in this room is the jury. So we're going to take a 15-minute break and both sides take a pregnant pause and think about the jury.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Where we are, no. Mo, sorry I took you out of your newsy news morning, but
That is
I thought-
okay.
I thought
Breaking Boone news is always appropriate.
yeah, and I thought it was better to have it in a concise video so people didn't have to go look through our entire afternoon stream and morning stream, because shenanigans might be afoot in Florida. Because a filing was made 21st of October, where the states require an in-camera hearing regarding financial arrangements between the defendant and the defense team. All of you have watched this trial all along. Mo, what did Owens claim when the judge asked him if he was getting paid?
He was pro bono. He was
liked
doing this
YouTube
out of
music. That's what he said.
yeah.
If you're pro bono, are you getting paid?
No, you are not. You are doing this as a quest for justice for Sarah, for dynamic opportunity, which does make me wonder if this little nugget that you have found out was squirreled away in the back of Sarah's mind when she was talking on her poster about, financial opportunity, spotlight, that kind of thing. This is all beginning to make sense now.
It's almost like it makes sense, yes. And let's wait to talk about what it means for the trial and all of that. We just got this. Mo haven't even read this. I heard about it this morning on the wonderful Ian Runkle's show. That guy never sleeps. He sleeps less than I do. Then I had my document wizard Jemima pull it up, read it, yelled at me for not understanding half of it. And again, Mo went to the Brooks Law Academy. I went to the Bradley Yawn School of Logic stuff and the laws. So we
Yes.
might be on a little shaky ground, but let's try and read what they are saying. The defendant is indigent. She had several appointed lawyers prior to forfeiting her right to an appointed attorney. We know this. Girl got no money because Brian don't pay no more. Defendant is receiving cost money for JAC. There's also a filing I haven't brought up where they want more money from that private investigator. Because of her indigency, apparently only investigator Billy Lane is being paid with JAC money. So her experts aren't being paid with JAC money is what I'm reading in this. Those two experts testifying yesterday, isn't JAC paid or what?
That's odd because one of the motions and the hearings where the judge just said, yes, that's okay, was them covering expenses of, I believe, up to $5,000 for each of the psychiatrists, and then I believe $10,000 for the crime scene reconstructionist, which I don't believe they've called or well, they rested, so they didn't call him.
Well, they didn't technically rest, but yes, they rested.
Well,
They had to file those two documents about the RO today before they rested.
oh yeah.
But the defendant had secured the service of 4 attorneys and a jury trial consultant, and perhaps more people that the state is unaware of at this time. The defense team is expending a tremendous amount of cost, having traveled from Milton, Florida to Orlando, Florida for several-week trial. The team returned to Milton, Florida prior to the arrival of Hurricane Milton in Central Florida, and then traveled back after it had passed, incurring additional cost. The state is concerned about a potential conflict of interest between the defendant and her team. Rules regulating the Florida Bar 4/1.8 subsection D. And Mo is sitting here saying, oh 4/1 subsection D. Oh
I
my.
always love the subsection D.
Yeah.
It would only have been better if it was double D. I would have felt represented next time.
Yeah. But for those of you who don't study Florida statutes like Mo does, Mo is a thesaurus in Florida. Let's try and see what subsection D, because subsection A, Rule 41A, regards to conflict of interest, prohibited or other transactions. Subsection D then goes into, say, acquiring literary or media rights. Prior to the conclusion of representation of a client, a lawyer is prohibited from making or negotiating an agreement giving the lawyer literary or media rights to a portrayal or account based in substantial part on information relating to the representation. This is the Jodi Arias thing, with her lawyer writing the book and getting debarred right after.
Yeah, this does well. So I know that they switched Florida's Son of Sam laws. So I know she is no longer barred from profiting from her crime, i.e., writing a book, having a lifetime special. A divot is where your shoulder has a permanent bump in it or like line in it because your bubular area has created a little dip in the shoulder.
But yeah,
yeah, so this makes me feel like this was the plan all along, especially with the poster and everything. Sarah has been cooking up, now what she's going to name this, I hope she names it My Struggle, because I would find that hilariously absurd, or Not Without My Suitcase. But she's going to sell this story. They're going to make a terrible Lifetime movie about it. And
she'll be played by Thalise Theron, because she can play that. We saw that in Monster. She can change her body enough that she could play her.
Yes. So it's beginning to look all sorts of calculated. And I did look on Twitter or X this morning, and I guess she was using a lot of phraseology from Terrifying Love, a book about DV. So this has all been, this is marketing for her stupid movie. Sorry. This is going to make a mockery. And oh my gosh, this makes so much more sense as to why, in theory, reputationally, competent lawyers would take on this case.
Yeah, and we heard him lie to the judge. He said, I do this U2 style. And U2 is the worst music band ever. So it makes sense that he would choose them. This guy that some people had lauded as the new Jose Baez, because he's going to find out all the holes and get Sarah out of this, might have constructed a conflict of interest, because his future outcome can rely on how spectacularly this case ends. Is that why day 4 yesterday was so horrendous? Because everyone who loved day 3 and said, "Oh, they were really getting back," watching it yesterday, those experts were horrendous for her. I have to say there is a caveat with literacy rights. An agreement by which a lawyer acquires literary or media rights concerning the conduct of the representation creates a conflict between the interest of the client and the personal interest of the lawyer. Measures suitable in the representation of the client may detract from the publication value of an account of the representation. Subdivision D does not prohibit a lawyer representing a client in a transaction concerning literary property from agreeing that the lawyer's fee will consist of a share in ownership in the property. I read that, and Jess will probably yell at me, but that in the property of the arraignment, that is only if her criminal lawyer then after that are her lawyer doing the media rights sale. He can't make a deal where he sells himself the media rights before that. That's how I read this. I might be wrong. This is my third language, and I am not a lawyer. And I live in a place where we have way different rules for transactions.
Suzanne, this is coming from a motion that the state brought up, because this is something that, they really, the state wouldn't be able to bring this motion without having some evidence to back it. They don't. So yeah, this is definitely something that is very close to treading the line of unethical. Now, as I said before, Florida did repeal their Son of Sam law. So meaning that, people can profit from the crimes if they do a tell-all. I mean, this kind of became a big thing right after Son of Sam when he wrote the book and, was getting all this money for like why I did it sort of things. And so I don't know if this was in conjunction with Florida doing this, if the lawyers found this out and, all came together and said, this is how we can get paid. But this does smack of just disingenuousness. We're here as a PR move, not so much as, defending our client or even doing a good job on the case. Because you've noticed there's been a whole lot of disorganization. There's been a whole lot of, we don't know what's going on. We'll get that to you whenever. How many media agents are they meeting with? How many, Hollywood or Lifetime people are they meeting with? How many, Netflix people are they meeting with? Because they see the, scuttlebutt, the kind of thirst there is for the Menendez brothers, for the, Scott Peterson
True
thing.
crime is a massive business.
Yeah.
Karen Reed is getting a Netflix, apparently. I think there's 2 other trials I've heard of. True crime, go into true crime podcasting. In Denmark, it's absolutely the biggest. YouTube true crime community. We are the biggest live streamers. I am by far the biggest Danish live streamer because I have all you wonderful people following trials with me on a daily basis. True crime is a massive business, and I think people have found out now that there's a sell-off. We saw the Murdoch case got a special, the JDA8 case got a special, and was it Kim Potter or someone else got a special on Netflix? My sister watched all of them. Funny enough, she didn't reach any of the conclusions as us who watched the trials. But I have to preface this again. This is the state alleging, and the state is also saying the only way for the court to know if there is an actual conflict of interest rather than a potential conflict of interest is to review the financial agreements between the defendant and her team. I disagree. They have no rights to look at any financial agreements, but the judge should call Mr. Owens and say, Mr. Owens, have you made an agreement selling the rights? So you are not pro bono, but you are on layaway.
Yeah, so that would be considered, I would think, work product.
Yeah.
But and I don't know how you prove something that is conjecture. I don't know, but it would be good to get this out into light, because this explains a lot. This explains why that expert was so hell bent on ignoring and discrediting any other, mental, maybe behavioral patterns that Sarah was displaying, because it's not going to look good to make Sarah the next Joan of Arc, you know, um, face of DV, if all of her bad stuff comes out. So she willfully ignored that. And you could see it by the way she was answering questions. Well, what are you talking about? Well, I had 9 times. It's really quite interesting how she was able to, and she didn't do it, the state brought it out, but she willfully crafted her testimony to make Sarah the ultimate victim. And this makes a lot more sense now if there is a financial tie.
Yeah.
If the whole idea is to get this sold to Netflix or, Lifetime TV or the Oxygen Network, this is going to open the floodgate to see, hey, what did Karen Reed's lawyers do? What did, everyone who's getting a Netflix, what did the Menendez brothers do? Like that kind of thing. It is going to be a part of it. And I really don't know how this is going to land.
But still, the judge should have a hearing with them saying, is it a part of your agreement that you have obtained literary rights to this case? He can ask that question. The state has no right watching any transaction, but he, as the judge, who is the guy who has to make sure there is no bias, there is no conflict of interest, should be able to ask it. So I don't think they should look at the financial agreement. If there is an actual conflict, the defendant can waive this right by clear, unequivocal, and unambiguous language. For a waiver to be valid, the record must show that the defendant was aware of the conflict of interest, that the defendant realized the conflict should affect the defense, and that the defendant knew of this right obtained by other counsel. And that's actually part of, is it on this one? Come on. There is actually a form attached to the chapter, acknowledgement by the client for representation to the court, where they can fill out that I knew this happened. But if they haven't told anyone, it's a conflict of interest. Why would the state take an interest in this? Because it's an appeal issue. It could pop back up. It's speculation, and there's also a Florida law that I just got from Jemima 944.512. State lien on proceeds from literary or other type of account of crime for which convicted. A lien prior in dignity to all others shall exist in favor of the state upon royalties, commissions, proceeds of sale, and any other thing of value payable to or accruing to a convicted felon or a person on her or his behalf, including any person to whom the proceed may be transferred or signed by a gift or otherwise. So there's a model how the money should be shared in cases. 25% goes to the dependent, so that's Lucas owns 25% of all income. 25% to the victims or their dependents. After payment have been made pursuant to paragraph A and B, an amount equal to pay all court costs in the prosecution of the convicted felon, which shall include but not be limited to jury fees. So they also have a lien on her income because she's declaring indigent, that they can recoup all the money they spent. So all of this, if she gets a book deal, Lucas is number one, then Jorge's family is number two, and then three is the state to cover the taxpayers' expenditure. And why would it benefit them in this case? Well, it would benefit them because they don't like Mr. Owens.
No, but I think it needs to be pointed out. Look, I don't care if Sarah makes $1 million of, it was the paperclip's fault, but it
Yeah.
definitely needs to go to George's family, her son, and then the state for all the money that I don't even know what the cost is for having so many public defenders, to get each new public defender up to speed, get them all of because they charge for every time they copy those documents. It's very, very kind of true to form. Sarah, how can I benefit for this? I mean, how many of her letters were, people are making money off of my stuff. People are profiting off of my story. This seems to have been in her mind after she realized this case was going to have media legs.
Yeah. And again, the state is requesting the court to conduct an in-camera, that would say without camera, examination of the financial agreements to assure that there is no actual conflict of interest. And if there's an actual conflict of interest, the defendant validly waives any actual conflict of interest. And again, I know she's asked every day, are you happy with your defense? Are you happy? But who to say isn't because she agreed to something that there's a kickback to a commissary, there's 2 extra Twinkies and a Cocoa Puff ball. If you just let us run the show, you just do what we say, there's a financial interest in it. And again, can you make sure that the defense won't blow it? Go up there doing closing arguments and say, whew, clients be crazy, right? Just to further the payments for the book, because the defense is now reliant on the outcome of this case, and having Sarah Boone lose this case in a spectacular way. Go to Lawn and Crim. 95% of those people who watch that would love a book talking about how crazy it was working with Sarah Boone. Go back and see all the other attorneys who's been on TV talking about how crazy Boone is. It is gold. If you can. My Suitcase Time with Boone. That book.
Yeah. Owens is going to do, there was that famous prosecuting attorney that did not only the Tate LaBianca murders, but the Toolbox Killer murders, and he went on to write a bunch of different books. Always struck me as a bit slimy, but if you have a personal experience, that's fine. I think they went in knowing this. Now, I don't like any of this. I think it is all gross. And I think that this kind of puts a little bit of falsity on the claims that Owens wanted her to take the plea deal. I think that they never were going to go with the plea deal.
No.
I think he was actively, now looking at all this evidence, he was going for the trial. And he doesn't care if Sarah gets destroyed as long as he has a fun story. He can do a mom and dad, defending Samsonite Sarah podcast.
Yeah, sponsored by Samsonite. The big problem in all of this is there's a massive potential that there's a conflict of interest. Bronkel, he believed possible mistrial, and she can lose these lawyers. I would say I agree with him because this lawyer lied to the judge when he claimed pro se. He can say, well, I'm not getting an income now, but again, upon further expectation of an income in a book deal, would still be some kind of monetary exchange for his services. He can get $1, he can get $0, he can get $1 million. We don't know, but he has an agreement for a future payment. That's also what he told the state, the journalist after. if she loses these lawyers, yeah, she'll be back to pro se or a public defender. But I think we saw it in Jody Arias that that guy who wrote a book and he lost his job, and that's I don't know how much legs it has to go on, or if the judge will say, "Yeah, I'll just reprimand you, and the bar can figure this out," or yeah.
I have a feeling that if Judge Kranek rules the way he's been known to rule in this case, he is going to take this allegation seriously. He is going to look at everything, and then he's also going to weigh the fact that we have a jury here, that we have, all this time invested, that we've finally gotten this case after 4 years to go to trial. And I think that might weigh heavily on, we'll let the bar take care of this, or we'll have a separate hearing. Again, not being a lawyer, I don't know what the proper thing to ameliorate or kind of remedy this would be. If there's sanctions, if it's disbarment, if it's being taken off this case, I don't know. I do have a feeling that Owens was going to be the closing statements guy. So if he takes him off the case, I don't know that would be I think that would be a real scramble for them, because you've got aggressive attorney who got attacked by a trash can, and today, Junior, the man who speaks so slowly, you're going backwards in time.
Yeah, and again, it's just shady that that you have these kind of deals. You're claiming pro se, so you're lying to the court, and then you are claiming, or you have reached an agreement which is clearly in conflict with the Florida statute, because contrary to what someone is saying, it doesn't state that you can't make money off of it until after the trial. It says, prior to the conclusion of representation, a lawyer is prohibited from making or negotiating. Boom. So it's not just making money, it's also negotiating any agreement. So that's a problem. And I know that there's the subsection that you can be the lawyer who negotiates on behalf of your client, but you still can't do it to yourself. You have to do it if Mo wanted to buy the rights. You can be the lawyer on that. The problem is, this seems like insider trading. If he's been if he's been representing her to sell the media rights to his own company or his
and you
own
guys,
group.
The Owens doesn't have to, get the expert in and have a nefarious, conspiratorial holding their mustaches, twirling it. All he needs to do is only send her the evidence that makes Sarah look bad. And that's what he did. He didn't send her the entire case file.
Look good.
He didn't send her, make Sarah look good. So it doesn't have to be, some, Colonel Mustard with the, no, all he had to do was send her a truncated evidence list.
And then it's the
and that's what he did.
And then it's the state's duty, like we saw yesterday on Cross, saying, hey, did you look at this? Did you look at this? Helen, what has happened is the state has filed a motion of a potential conflict of interest because they have heard rumors that Sarah Boone's defense team, who claimed to be pro bono, is actually being paid by the media rights to her case, which, according to the Florida Rule 4/1.8 subsection D, is prohibited. They can't negotiate or make any agreements giving the lawyer literary or media rights to a portrayal or account based in substantial part on information relating to this representation. They can do it after. No problem in that. When the hands are washed, the case is closed, you can make a deal. But if they have a signed piece of paper saying, I own the media rights, plus it'll also be kind of hard because Florida also have the rules from the Son of Sam thingamajig or whatever Mo said, where 25% must go to Lucas, 25% must go to Jorge's family, and then the state should recuperate trial costs before any payment goes into her Twinkie fund. Can I pull up the ad? What ad?
Oh, Sarah's, want ad.
I don't have it readily available.
And I mean, this is an allegation. They're going to go to court. The judge is going to hear all the evidence. The one thing I have liked about this judge is that he does his homework. He goes in, he watched the interrogation, I think twice, took notes. He did not go in and say, oh, the state said this, so I'll do whatever the state is, or I like the defense, I'll do whatever the defense says. He actually takes all of this and, got on and really tried to do the best according to the law. He didn't let his
Yeah.
he didn't let the fact that, we were all angry, like, is this an overt act, sticking a hand out? He said, a scintilla is a scintilla. So, if the state can prove it, then great. If the state can't prove it, well, then it's an allegation and, maybe they'll have an investigation.
Yeah, and we don't know anything. We don't know anything. They will have this motion ruled on probably before trial today. It'll be an in camera, so there won't be a camera. That's why I don't in camera. I don't understand what that is. But it's for the judge, and we have seen what the defense team hasn't done at any point, even though they are the bestest defense team ever. They never look at case law. They never look at the statutes. They are just saying, hey, judge, it could be really cool if you'll just rule with your head up, your behind, because that's how we filed the motions. It's a potential conflict. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. As I read the 4/1.8 subsection D, if a such agreement exists, it's a problem. It's a problem for the lawyer because it's against the rules in Florida. But we'll have to wait and see. We just wanted to go breaking with that, and we're going to end it so we can just readjust our chakras before we have to go on the long stream. But this case was getting kind of boring yesterday because I was just yelling at an expert who clearly had coached a defendant, which is fine by me. We've seen that multiple times.
I think it was very telling, though, the verbiage was the same. So changing of scenery, redirecting. It does not seem like the verbiage Sarah would use. So it does, in fact, look very staged when, Sarah would say, I was redirecting him, changing scenery, and then, terrifying love, and that happens to be a book on DV. It is very interesting, and kind of all I have learned is now how Sarah processes things. And I don't know how but everything is how I got a better understanding of how Sarah processes things. Do I think that we got the true story of what happened? Absolutely not. But she shot her shot. She got out some information. Yeah, the marital home. There were just weird verbiage things that, having read all of her letters, they're just not something in her phraseology she always uses. And again, I'm not an expert. I'm a mom of 6 kids who plays on the internet and has a bunch of wigs. I'm gonna just tell y'all what I think, call a spade a spade. And Sarah Boone is not a victim. And
No,
anyone who's
she's a
been through something
perpetrator.
like this
And for
can see
everyone
it.
who is still sitting here saying, well, but she has a good idea. You can't self-defense by choking someone over time. Self-defense have to be an immediate action. That's the biggest problem. But I know I'm just a wine mom. I just have a wine mom crowd, and I'm just a true crimer. But I have the loveliest wine moms joining me, joining Mo in a little bit, where we will talk about the difference between Woodsbridge and Sarah Boone Farm, and how we understand nothing like all the smart people. But that's why we are gathered in the church of Mo with dark chocolate, dark humor, and fun. See you all in a bit.
Bye, guys.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor.
All right.
100.
100.
Because it is 100%
100%.
correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, I'm in love.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this,